Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Kopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we are still in the month, the holy month of Kartik, special month, the Vaishnav calendar, in which any devotional service done to Krishna has much more benefit, about 1,000 times more benefit. And we're in the last days of Kartik, Bhishma Panchaka, and it's the time where Lord Bhishma Dev, a great pure devotee of Krishna, was lying on a bed of arrows instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj. It's a whole pastime. We went over that yesterday. Also, it was Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji's disappearance. Means our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, his guru, his guru's guru. So it's his disappearance recently. So in this way, there's so many holidays happening. Last time I gave a talk here, one person, devotee by the name of Arti, I don't see her here. Maybe she's upstairs with the Sunday school or something, but she asked a question at the end of the class that I gave, and the question was, what are some most important things we can do in this particular month? So the answer I gave was that In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami's masterpiece book, which outlines the science of Bhakti Yoga, he first says that there's 10 things that we should do. Much of that is revolving around accepting a spiritual master, a spiritual teacher, Vaishnav, Guru, approaching a spiritual master, accepting initiation, accepting instructions, so on. And then the next 10 are don'ts, things we shouldn't do. And then he continues on with more principles. So looking at all of those principles, he he mentions 5 of the most important principles of devotional service. So he says that the 5 are chanting the holy name, worshiping the deity with great awe and reverence, deity of Krishna, chanting the holy name of Krishna, associating with devotees, taking prasadam. No, he didn't say that. Associating with devotees, residing in a holy place, and what was the last one? Hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah. So these are the 5 most potent forms of devotional service. And even a slight attachment to one of these forms can awaken attraction for Krishna, love for Krishna, even in a beginner. So this is what he says, the 5 most potent forms. So of course, each of these forms of devotional service requires a lot of discussion. So I thought we could just look at one of those in brief, the principle of holy place, residing in a holy place. But before I continue, I'll just offer some prayers. Om Jnanativarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangamanga Tegirim Yakripadamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Bancha Kabdurubhischa Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a question for all of you. What makes a holy place a holy place? That's a question. Somebody wants to raise their hand. Yes.
If it's visited by holy people.
Okay, very good. If it's visited by holy people, or if holy people reside there. That's one thing that makes a holy place a holy place. Very true. Yes. Okay. A place where everyone follows the rules and regulations of devotional service. That's true. Any other? What is it? Where we worship or pray. Yes. Yes, that's true. Any other thing? So where we follow rules, regulations of Scripture, where we worship the deity of Krishna, where the holy devotees are. What is it?
There's also the Ganga, which is an interesting situation.
So the Ganga, the water, the holy river, makes a place holy. Yes, that's true. Yes.
Krishna engaged in his pastime?
Yes. Where Krishna engages in his pastime, or has engaged in his pastimes. Where Krishna resides, we understand it that the deity here, the deities, are is Krishna. Krishna's here in the form of the deity. Krishna incarnates in different ways. He comes as the holy name, Nam Avatar. He comes as the deity, so on. So these are some of the different things that make a holy place a holy place. So in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be the face of Krishna. What happens is, at the time Krishna, he left Vrindavan and he went to Mathura, and then he went on to Dwarka. And there, in Dwarka, he married 16,108 queens, which we'll talk a little bit about later. Of course, we understand Krishna could do that because he's God. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No problem with that. So while he was there in Dwarka, he still was remembering Vrindavan, of course, his early days in his life in Vrindavan. He was remembering his mother Yashoda, his father Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd boys, the cowherd girls. These devotees on the highest platform of love for Krishna. He was remembering them with great love and devotion, and they were remembering him with great love and devotion. So many years passed, quite a number of years passed, while Krishna was away in Dwarka. And we read about it in the 10th canto, how the gopis, the cowherd girls, and all the devotees were just really devastated in Krishna's absence. But it just so happened that at one particular point, a solar eclipse happened. And what happened there is that all the residents of Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj and everyone, and the Yashoda and the gopis, and all the persons of Dwarka, Krishna and the queens and everyone, they all converged into one location. Does anyone remember that location? Yes, Kurukshetra. They went to Kurukshetra and they met there. So it was a very beautiful scene, which I'll share some verses with you. Very emotional scene. Nanda Maharaj showed us seeing Krishna after so many years, the gopis seeing Krishna after so many years. So, yeah, but before we do that, if everybody could just please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so Shri Shukuvacha. You want to chant together? We could do that, that's fine. If you want to look up on your phone, it's Canto 10, Chapter 82, Text 39 from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's 10, 82, 39. I think it's the Brahma Samhita meter, as they call it. Is that right? Is anyone looking it up? A few? All right, we need a few chanters. Because a few people attempted, so now we need to make it happen. Shri Shuka Uvacha Gopyascha Krishnam Upalabhya Chirada Bishtam Yat Prekshane Drishishu Pakshma Kritam Shapanti. Drigbir Hridi Kritamalam Pariribhya Sarvas. Tadbhavam apur api nitya yujam durapam. All right. Here we go. For those who are a little rusty, their Sanskrit, or not, they don't have their phones open, we'll give you the translation. All right. So Shukadeva Goswami said, the reciter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, while gazing at their beloved Krishna, the young gopis used to condemn the creator of their eyelids, which would momentarily block their vision of him. Now, seeing Krishna again after such a long separation with their eyes, they took him into their hearts, and there they embraced him to their full satisfaction. In this way, they became totally absorbed in ecstatic meditation on him. Although those who constantly practice mystic yoga find such absorption difficult to achieve. So the gopis, yes, they used to condemn the creator because they were looking at Krishna, but they would blink their eyes and then they wouldn't see Krishna just for that split second. And then they would say, oh, this foolish creator, why did he create such eyelids? So here they're seeing Krishna again after long separation, many years. And it says, with their eyes, they took him into their hearts. So with their eyes, they took Krishna into their hearts. And there they embraced him to their full satisfaction. So that's one verse. And then Krishna, he says, do you perhaps think I'm ungrateful and thus hold me in contempt? After all, it is the Supreme Lord who brings living beings together and then separates them. So he's asking them, are you feeling any contempt? Are you feeling any anger for me being separated from you for so long? And he's making the point, which is an important point for us, that we see sometimes in our life that we're brought together with certain people, certain situations, and then we're separated from them, which is outlined in the next verse as well. And he says, just as the wind brings together masses of clouds, blades of grass, wisps of cotton, and particles of dust, only to scatter them all again, so the Creator deals with his created beings in the same way. So we have that experience. We were at one point with maybe our grandfather or grandmother, or maybe our father, our mother, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or just due to circumstances, things change. People leave, so on. We're separated by the force of time. And he goes on to say, Krishna goes on to say, rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living being for eternal life. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude toward me, by which you have obtained me. So he's categorizing the residents of Vrindavan, specifically the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, on this very special category that you have obtained me by your devotion. So in this way, it's a very emotional scene that's going on. Now, going to further into this, Draupadi, she meets the queens of Krishna. Again, he had a lot of queens, 16,108, and that is no issue for Krishna because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could do that. Not only can he do that, but he does do that. Not only can he do that, and that he does do that, but he expands himself into all of those, into 16,108 different forms to deal with the queens individually. So Draupadi, she's meeting with the queens there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and she's asking them, so, Does anyone remember what she was asking them? How did you marry Krishna? All of these queens. So, how did you marry Krishna? It's kind of like sometimes we meet people and we talk with people and we say, so how did you two meet? How did you two marry? Something like that. I mean, it's a crude example, but. So Draupadi, she's asking the queens of Krishna, how did you marry Krishna? And the queens are responding in their own unique ways. Which is in chapter 83. Now, going further, we have a number of sages that arrive there at the battlefield, at Kurukshetra during the solar eclipse. So these sages were very famous sages, like all the famous ones showed up that we could ever think of. Vyasadeva was there, Narada Muni was there, Devala, Sita, Vishwamrita, all of these very celebrated sages showed up. And Krishna, in the mood of a householder, because, he's in the mood of a householder, he addresses them. And he says that now our lives are indeed successful, for we have obtained life's ultimate goal, the audience of great yoga masters, which even demigods only rarely obtain. So what Krishna is saying here is that it's very rare to meet a devotee of Krishna. It's a very rare thing. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Brahmande Brahmate Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij, that souls are wandering in this universe from species to species, all over different planets, so on and so forth. And by the mercy of Krishna, a Bhagavan Jeev, a fortunate soul, comes in contact with a Vaishnava, a spiritual master, spiritual guide, a devotee. And by the kindness of that devotee, they're connected to Krishna. So to meet devotees is very rare. So this is what Krishna is bringing up, that all of you yoga masters are here, and this is very rare. And then he goes further. Krishna continues. How is it that people who are not very austere and who recognize God only in His deity form in the temple can now see you, touch you, inquire from you, bow down to you, worship your feet, and serve you in other ways? So in other words, he's saying that if someone doesn't have, how is it that someone without qualifications can meet all of you wonderful sages? How is that? And then he says, mere bodies of water are not the real sacred places of pilgrimage, nor are mere images of earth and stone the true worshipful deities. These purify one only after a long time, but saintly sages purify one immediately upon being seen. So he's outlining the power of devotee association, that we can go to so many holy places. There's many holy places, especially within India, but there's also many holy places around the world. We could go to so many holy places, and we may get some type of purification of consciousness or elevation of consciousness. But Krishna is saying here that especially by seeing great sages or devotees associated with great personalities, this brings special purification or special elevation that, practically speaking, cannot be obtained by visiting so many holy places. So Krishna himself is putting stress on how devotees make a holy place holy. Sages make a holy place holy. And then it's quoted in the purport, Bhavad Vida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani Swanta Stena Gadabrita. This is from earlier in the Bhagavatam. My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. So devotees are so advanced that they themselves can turn places into pilgrimages. So this is what Krishna is communicating here. And then he continues. We'll just read a couple more. Neither the demigods controlling fire, the sun, the moon, and the stars. So these are very powerful personalities. We accept that there are demigods who are controlling fire, sun, moon, stars. Nor those in charge of earth, water, ether, air, speech, and mind actually remove the sins of their worshippers, who continue to see in terms of dualities. But wise sages destroy one's sins when respectfully served, even for a few moments. So this is what Krishna is saying, that we may surrender to so many different big controllers, but the power of devotees, or the power of pure devotees, pure Vaishnavas, is that even just for a few moments, we can be elevated very quickly. This will be the last one we read. Famous one that Srila Prabhupada would quote quite a lot. I think Dravida Prabhu knows this one, right? Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridatuke swadi kalatradishu bauma ijidi yat tirta buddhi shalile nakarhachij janeshu bigyeshu saeva gokaraha. So this is Krishna. Yeah, I'll just read it here. One who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own, who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, that's called nationalism, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth. So, in other words, he's saying that, what's that? Somebody's watch? Phone? Anyways, it went off now. All right, good. So, in other words, he's saying that if somebody identifies himself with the body, blood and bones and so on, as their real self, in other words, they don't see that they're the soul. If somebody thinks that the land they're born is worshipable, again, like I mentioned, that's nationalism, in essence, who sees a pilgrimage as just a body of water. In other words, they don't understand that the real essence of the pilgrimage place is to seek the association of the sadhus there, or the sadhvis there. Sadhvis, the female version of sadhu, saintly person there, who thinks that their family and so on is eternal, means it permanent. So Krishna, he says, such a person is no better than a cow or they say donkey or ass or donkey. That's what Krishna says. In other words, such a person is very foolish. Because they are missing the point of the holy place. That's why they're considered to be foolish. So this is what Krishna is communicating to the sages there. And Srila Prabhupada would quote this verse quite a lot. Yeah, he would quote this verse quite a lot through his communicating Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So in other words, one who ignores great sages or great devotees by not hearing them, by not associating with them, by not serving them, they're considered to be in a very unfortunate situation. And Krishna specifically says no better than a like an animal. This really unfortunate situation. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada would stress that those of us who have the human form of life, we're all here right now, right? We all have the human form. When we go to holy places, we come to the temple, we go on our pilgrimages to India, we so on. In our life in general, that we understand the most important thing about a holy place, and that is the holy persons who reside there. And we try to hear from them. And what do we hear from them? We hear from them the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear from the message of Krishna consciousness. So the basic principle that really will perfect our lives is to hear from saintly persons, the people who are surrendered to Krishna. And who is a saintly person? Of course, that requires a whole nother explanation, a whole nother class practically. But Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita, that those Mahatmas, the great souls, they surrender unto the divine energy, Daivi Prakriti, which is personified as Srimati Radharani, which means they surrender to devotional service. Srimati Radharani, Krishna's eternal consort, who's in charge of devotional service or bhakti. And what is their business? Satatam kirtayanto mam. They're always hearing and chanting about me, Krishna says. Manmana bhava madbhakta. They're always thinking of me. They're always bowing down to me. They're always worshiping me. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti priyachati. They're always engaged and offering me with great love and devotion. And Krishna says he accepts it, a flower, fruit, water, leaf, even a leaf. Krishna accepts it. So this is the general description we find of devotees. So we should hear from those devotees, and then our life will be perfect. And later we could hear more about what it means to be a Vaishnava. So, all right. Any question or comment? Yes, Triveda Prabhu, and then Eric.
Yeah, just one quick comment about the end of that verse. It compares it, and Gokura is the words that he uses.
Yeah.
If you're doing those things and you're identifying with the body and so forth. I read one interpretation of that as a compound. Those who know Sanskrit know the different kinds of compounds. So this can be a dual compound, one or the other, but it can be also mean the donkeys who carry the fodder for the cows. Because we like cows. We don't say, oh, you're nothing but a cow. Hey, I'll take it. But if you're the donkey carrying the fodder for the cows, no, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Eric.
What's the difference between a yogi and a swami?
Well, there's different types of yogis, but and a yogi has to be a swami. I mean, sometimes yogis have a hard time being a swami, but swami just means one who controls their mind and senses. Like Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar of Instruction, the qualifications for to be a spiritual master means that for those who are serving in that situation of a spiritual master, they have to note this and follow it. And those who are taking initiation or shelter of a spiritual master, they also have to note this, because they have to make sure their spiritual master has this. But it's vacho vegam, manasa kroda vegam, jiva vegam, adurapasta vegam, etan vegam, yo vishaheta dira saram apimam prativim shishishya. That their tongue, belly, mind, anger, speech, etc., they control all of their senses. that such a person can make disciples all over the world, Rupa Goswami says. So a yogi has to control their senses because ultimately, yeah, yoga means you have to control your mind and senses. That's a very important part of any yoga process. But there's different types of yogis. There's yogis who maybe are impersonalists. They're going after the impersonal aspect of Krishna. And there's bhakti yogis, so there's many different types of yogis. Any other yes, I think you want to pass the mic to her, Govardhan?
Thank you. So those unfortunate soul donkeys or whatever, don't they take their own turns?
I mean, can you hold the mic a little closer?
They take their own course of time. So they take their own course of time to one day become a fortunate soul that can recognize Krishna. We all also should have come through that path to here, right?
Yes.
We have also gone through the same path to come here.
Yes, that's true. So you want me to comment on that? Yeah. So, yes, I will. So we read this verse, and it is quite strong that, okay, those who identify with the body and they worship the land they're born in, and they don't take advantage of the saintly association. They just go to a holy place to bathe in the Ganga or the River Jordan or wherever they go. Then they're considered very unfortunate, not to be very intelligent. They're not very intelligent. So her point was that, okay, that's there, but people, they're on their own journey. So some people are on that level, and then they make progress, and then they could come to the platform of actually inquiring to the absolute truth. That's true. And yes, that if we are in the category of inquiring into the absolute truth, then I'm sure we were at that point at one point. Yeah. But the scriptures here and the devotees are here in this world to wake people up, to shake people up, to wake people up, to sometimes, yeah, by strong language like this, it's a strong verse, to emphasize the importance that, yes, it's we have this human form of life and it's very important, therefore we should take advantage of it. We shouldn't be unintelligent. So we could see it like that. But it is true, everybody's on their journey. But sometimes we may be able to increase people's, or we may be able to help people along their journey a lot quicker. Therefore the devotees are in this world, therefore scriptures in this world. Not that people just remain unfortunate or remain unintelligent. Yes. So should we just see that this is a creation of God, Hiranyakashipu or whoever, and not really have an opinion about it? That's what you're saying? Yeah, I mean, if we look at Scripture, Krishna does give his opinion about different types of people. In the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a divine and demoniac. He outlines the different natures. Of course, sometimes you could say people are mixed or this and that, but sometimes not. But we do make distinctions, and we do relate to people based on those distinctions, and I would say that's intelligent thing to do. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that we should see everybody equally. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, right? The Brahman, a learned person, sees the soul in everyone, sees a super soul in everyone. That's true. One time, Srila Prabhupada, when he was in India, he went back to India after spreading Krishna consciousness in America, and he was meeting with some Indian gentlemen. And they were having a conversation, and they were asking him, Srila Prabhupada, what is your contribution? They were a bit challenging. What is your contribution? And they said, every acharya, means every great spiritual master, every acharya, they make a contribution. So what is your contribution? And then Srila Prabhupada would say that I'm just repeating the message of the disciplic succession, and that is my contribution, that I have not changed anything. I'm just repeating, because a lot of people, they speculate things and change things. And I'm repeating the message of Vyasadeva. It means the compiler of the Bhagavatam and so on, right? And then one of the Indian men said, who is this Vyasadeva? and then Srila Prabhupada said, how can I talk to you? How can I talk to you? You're disrespecting Vyasadeva. How can I even speak with you? But then they kept on going, a bit challenging to Srila Prabhupada, and they said, what is your contribution? What have you done? And they were also criticizing Srila Prabhupada for criticizing others. Because that's what Srila Prabhupada would do sometimes. He would criticize people for people's benefit. He didn't want people to be cheated. So Srila Prabhupada would criticize people sometimes out of love for people in general, to give people the right idea. And Srila Prabhupada went on to say that I see distinctions. I see that this person here is wasting their life, their human form of life, and they're not surrendering to Krishna out of great love and devotion. And this person is. So in this way I make distinction. What is piety? What is sin? I'm making distinctions. And then the man said, but in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you should not make any distinctions. He said, we're all soul, and you see the super soul. This is a learned person. And then Srila Prabhupada said, I'm not claiming to be on that level. I see the distinctions. And he said, if you don't surrender to Krishna, guess what he said? You're a rascal. I see that distinction. You should surrender to Krishna. That is your duty as part and parcel of Krishna. Mamai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. You are intimately, everyone is intimately related to Krishna with great love and devotion. And therefore it is your business to surrender to Krishna out of love and devotion. So I make these distinctions. And then the person said, what is your contribution? He kept on. And then Srila Prabhupada said, my contribution and my equal vision, my samadarshana, is that I am the only one who traveled outside of India and widely spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. America, Africa, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. I went everywhere, all over the world. And my samadarshana, my equal vision, is that I gave every single person the chance to be Krishna conscious, to awaken their loving devotional relationship with Krishna. He said, that is my samadarshana, that is my equal vision. So that's the real understanding, at least as far as we see it and as far as Srila Prabhupada explains it, that we do make distinctions, not for the purpose of condemning anyone or putting anyone down in the sense of eternal condemnation of the soul or something, or damnation of the soul. But we make distinctions because that's what it means to be a teacher, to make distinctions, because you have to try to elevate people. So like that, Srila Prabhupada was in that mood. So that's something in relation to that. Is there any other question? Yes. Ramesh.
Yeah, so Thank you.
How long have you been part of this community now?
Sorry.
How many years?
25 years.
25? Okay, nice.
So the question is,
And your good wife, Archana, right? She's here too?
yeah.
Yes.
So the question is based on the previous question. I think you said in our times about that being fortunate or not. There are people of different consciousness that co-live in these times, right? So it came to my mind, but we are also living in Kali Yuga. So in comparison to, let's say, Satya Yuga, etc., where there is a general degradation of level of consciousness.
Yes.
So is it specifically harder for us, or is it the mercy of a devotee that can transcend those difficulties?
Yes and no. It depends. So is it more difficult for us in this Kali Yuga? Because we're in Kali Yuga, it's a difficult age, actually. Age of quarrel, fighting. That means fighting with ourselves. Sometimes we fight with ourselves, right? We're angry at ourselves. We're not forgiving ourselves. We're arguing with ourselves. So we fight with ourselves. We fight with our spouses. We fight with our family. We fight with our friends. And then expanding it, we fight in different communities, religious, ethnic communities. Expanding it more, we fight between country to country. So a lot of fighting, quarrel. And everybody loves this one, right? Hypocrisy. Quarrel and hypocrisy. Especially the atheists, they really don't like how religionists, in their eyes, tend to be hypocritical, which they have some there's truth to that. People lose faith. But, so, anyways, it's a whole thing. But quarrel and hypocrisy, it's age of deterioration, age of Kali. So it is difficult. It is difficult. Although it's difficult, there's a special blessing of this age. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here with us tonight. To my left, on the left altar here, you have, looking at the altar, on the right, you have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. On the left, you have Lord Nityananda. Balaram Hoilo Nitai, Lord Balaram, he comes as Nityananda Prabhu. And Krishna, Vrajendra Nandana Se, Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se. Vrajendra Nandana Krishna, he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is their business? What is it? Anyone remember the line? Tara Sakshi Jagai Madai Harinama, yeah. What is it? Yes. Yes. What's the first? Goloke Premadan Harinam Sankirtan. So this holy name is descending from the spiritual world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna, Nityananda Prabhu, who's Balaram, they're bringing it around 500 years ago to this world, spreading it around India, then all over the world, as the main process for God realization and self-realization of this age, chanting Hare Krishna. So that is the special blessing of this age, that it is a most difficult age, but if we take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu, Gaur Nitai, by chanting the holy names of Krishna, it's a wonderful age. A very beautiful age to be in. And there's plenty of preaching opportunity. A lot of people don't know about Krishna. So it's a wonderful age to be in. And actually, the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains that demigods on higher planets are lining up to take birth in this age, age of Kali. Why? Because simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna in this age, one can attain all perfection. So even the demigods on the higher planets are lining up. So it's a very good age. So we should take advantage. I mean, if we don't take advantage, then yeah, the age wears on us. But if we take advantage, then it's very blissful. All right. Any other question?
Yes, could I please ask one? Hold on. Veda can chime in on this too if he wants. Is there a Veda equivalent in the Vedas to let he who is without sin himself cast the first stone? The reason I'm asking that is because I read a book on India not a couple of years back, and when the cows get really old and stop producing milk, they become burdensome on the herds, and sometimes they sell them off. And a guy was driving a bunch of cows to a slaughter place, and he was stopped by a group of vegetarians. I guess they were Hindus, and they got the guy out of the truck, and they were bludgeoning him and stoning him to death. And the peaceful vegetarians stood around with their cell phones filming it all. So yeah, I found that really disturbing. I was wondering if is any equivalent in the Vedas to, that he who is without sin himself cast the first stone.
Yeah, in relation to this is a Christian saying that those without, how does it go?
That he is without sin himself.
Yeah,
cast the first stone.
let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Now, what is the history behind this statement? The history is that, briefly, Lord Jesus Christ, he was traveling one day, and he saw all of these men with stones in their hands, and they were very angry. And then in the nearby, they saw this woman there who was very scared. And they were going to stone her to death because she broke some moral principles. So then Jesus arrived on the scene, and then he told all these men, very emphatically, he said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." And then what did all of them do? They put their stones down. They dropped their stones and they took off. So in this way, she was saved. So yeah, we all are familiar. We may be familiar with that, or we may be familiar with, as soon as you point your finger at someone, you have three pointing back at you. In terms of pastimes in the Bhagavatam, in relation to this, I'm thinking of some quotes from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in relation to this, but there's no pastimes coming into my mind right now about demonstrating this point. Anything coming to anybody else's mind?
When they were Sisupal or someone was criticizing Krishna and they were ready to kill him, and he stopped them until he just went overboard and then killed him himself, but he was given the permission.
Yeah, that's good. But the principle's there. I think of a quote from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says that, which we accept Acharya's statements to be as good as Scripture. So he said that every morning and every evening, he said every morning you should beat your mind with the shoe every morning. Doesn't mean you get a shoe and you go like this. It's an analogy. You should beat your mind with the shoe. And every evening, 100 times. And every evening, you should beat your mind with the broomstick 100 times. So what does he mean by this? He means that we should remind ourselves. And he outlines, he says, do not think, he uses some kind of old English, do not think thyself a true bhakta, means a true devotee, which certainly thou art not. In other words, a devotee shouldn't think themselves a great devotee. But you should be in the mood, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father, outlines this mood, that I'm full of faults. I'm honeycombed with faults. I have so many faults. And instead of focusing on others' faults, let me focus on my own faults. And he says that those who, he was speaking with mostly his sannyasis and brahmacharis, but he's saying that those who are always attacking people, finding faults with people, this is not the mood of a devotee. This is the mood of deceitful persons, not preachers. So in this way, he was encouraging his disciples. Remind yourself, don't be so proud, don't be so arrogant, don't be quick to find faults with others. It's like this. You know, you get a broom and don't find faults with others. Don't be proud. It's like that. It's an analogy. So that I think of. Don't be quick to find faults with others. Focus on your own.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a doubt. Can I
Okay,
ask?
sure.
If I did not get it wrong,
She's going to ask something.
yeah, was there any incident where Krishna is dressing up the gopis? If I did not hear it wrong from your lecture,
Where he is.
dressing the gopis.
Well, there are so many pastimes in the Bhagavatam and in the six Goswamis' literatures, but that is not in the Bhagavatam. And in terms of meditating on Radha Krishna Leela, Rasa Leela, and so on, of course it is there within the 10th canto, but our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada would explain that one should not jump to the 10th canto. One should very systematically go through the Bhagavatam and then arrive in the 10th canto. In that it's very confidential, and it is not like the mundane boy and girl love of this world. It's completely transcendental between Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his pure devotees. It's very difficult to understand. So, yeah, we should be very careful in entering those topics. And yeah, as a general principle, following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following Srila Prabhupada, we don't discuss those in detail in public forums. So, yes.
Prabhuji, as far as I remember, in Srimad Bhagavatam, I have reached up till 3B, and I'm hearing 4A canto right now.
Oh, nice.
Classes are continuing in India way back. So now I haven't reached till the 10th canto, but of all that I've heard, I haven't seen any incident in 10th canto where Krishna is dressing the gopis. I think it's in the Shat Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, if I'm not wrong.
And what is your, you say, just curious why you're asking this?
Because there was only one incident where we see, and generally also, where Krishna, to appease Radha, has been almost touching her feet and trying to ornament her. And when he ornaments her, everybody says it's perfect. But that's not with the other gopis, as far as what I've heard in all contexts.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you repeat the question?
she's asking some detailed information about the gopis and Krishna, some pastimes. And yes, I have read some commentaries and so on. I haven't ran into that. Yeah, so. But in terms of going to the 10th canto, everyone here in this room, you can get the 10th canto summary study summary study. It's called Krishna book. It's there in the gift shop. Interesting enough, Srila Prabhupada said, don't jump to the 10th canto. But then he gave us a summary study of the 10th canto, namely Krishna book. And then what did he do? He said, mass distribute it. Distribute to everybody and their mother. Distribute it to everyone. And it's described there, the 10th canto. But Srila Prabhupada is so expert, so he writes it so expertly that very difficult to get the wrong idea. And factually you become enlivened in Krishna consciousness. So if you do want to meditate on the 10th canto, please get Krishna book. It's in the gift shop. Yes, the last. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. I think Govardhan's ready to move on.
Thank you so much, Balaram Prabhu. Please, let's give him a round of applause. So now we're going to have a stand.